Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Jamie. Jamie is from Dublin in Ireland. So let's see what Jamie has to say. Enjoy the interview. So hello Jamie, how are you?
I am good. I'm glad I finally get to chat with you. We've been talking on and off for a few weeks. Good to
Absolutely.
good to be here.
Amazing. So tell me, how was your day today?
It was pretty sedate. So I didn't have a lot of work to do today. So I went out to a local cafe and chilled out and made some plans. I'm going to Antwerp at the end of this week to a festival called Darklands. So I'm starting to prepare the laundry and all of that, all the boring stuff.
Amazing. And do you go to this event, Darklands, every year or not?
So I went to Darklands last year. I That was the first time I went actually, but I would typically go to a few different things every year. This year is kind of special because I won the Mr. Dublin Leather competition, so I'm doing a little more than usual this year. So we've got Belgium, Germany, the UK, possibly Norway, and lots of other little trips planned on the way. So it's a busy year, that's for sure.
Amazing. Okay, so let's start the interview talking about this year for you that it has been. My God, you are holding the title of Mr. Dublin Leather 2025. My God,
I know
tell
my
me,
first name.
tell me a little bit about the journey, how the opportunities came along, and how everything started.
Yeah, so Mr. Dublin Leather is a competition that's been running for a while. It's a continuation of a few other title competitions that have happened in Ireland. So this current format is with a group called the Leathermen of Ireland. And the funny thing is, I actually entered it last year for the first time,
Okay.
and I was a second runner up, and I was actually really happy with that. So to give you some context, anyone can enter this competition.
Mhm.
And usually they just ask you a few things like why do you want to run for it? Like what are you bringing to the table? And then they do some interviews and then a stage portion. So I did it last year, and to be honest, it was more the experience of it that I really enjoyed. I didn't really care about winning it. I think it was just the opportunity of getting to meet so many people. And when you put yourself out there, a lot of people are suddenly more willing to come up and say hi to you because they know you, even if you don't know them. And so it was a challenge for me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit because I wouldn't traditionally be a super outward kind of confident guy. I think last year it really opened my eyes to the fact that we're all just people, and even people with titles are still just people. We just happen to have a fancy name or a fancy thing that we've made up for it. But it's really opened me up to having a lot more organic social experiences, and a lot of friends were saying, "Oh, you should run for it again this year. You'd be so great. You nearly had it last time." And so I decided to go for it again. And yeah, I shockingly, I actually won. So
Oh, wow.
it's been pretty amazing. Yeah, it's been a little overwhelming at times, particularly all the messages online. Lots of people messaging, but it's been fantastic so far.
I love the story behind, that you tried the year before and somehow didn't get it and you tried again. I think that's the whole point about life overall. I think you just need to try. You need to try different things, and you never know. It can happen anytime.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I was very self-conscious about going for it again. I didn't want people to think, oh, he's just going to keep trying until he eventually gets it. I think that's maybe the wrong way of looking at it. I've seen myself develop over the last few years, and I mean, even that's part of a weekend that we have in Dublin called Dublin Leather Weekend, and it's one of many different kind of weekends around Europe and the world that different groups set up in the community. And I remember the very first Dublin Leather weekend, I was so petrified to go that I didn't end up going that weekend. I stayed at home. I just thought, oh, I don't really see myself at the same level as these people, and I was really in my head about it. And And then the year after that, I was so shy and I stayed in kind of the corner in the background. And then last year was the year that I really kind of came into my own because I trusted myself and I trusted what people were saying to me and about me. And I said, I'm just gonna, my challenge for last year was to try and talk to every single person in the room, even if I felt like a big elephant in the room, just to try and have these experiences. I'm sure you have a bit of that yourself. You talk to so many people, right? That after a while you realize, oh, we're all just people, and we all have our own things in our heads. But when we actually just go to each other and start a conversation, it's amazing how people open up.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful, and so I feel I'm in a pretty good place at the moment. I would say I'm still a work in progress in terms of my own confidence, and I run out of battery sometimes. But yeah, it's really taught me about just being open to other people and opening your heart to the connections that are around the world, you know?
That's amazing. Yeah, I think the community. There are so many communities around there that we can connect with. We can enjoy them. We can learn about communities and about ourselves as well. I think it's all about that. Being you need to explore. You need to be open minded. You need to be curious. You need to be. You know what? If it's challenging me somehow, let me step in. Let me see why I'm feeling this way. So I think amazing. I love the story. Jamie, and Dublin is the place where you're born and raised?
Actually, no. So I was born in Ireland, but I was actually born in the west of Ireland,
Okay.
in a place called Galway, a little town called Ballinasloe. Now, I actually don't even know what Ballinasloe looks like. I've never been there since I was born, but I was born there, and then I grew up in around the middle of Ireland, a place called Kildare. So I grew up in a town called Naas, which is not that far from Dublin. Sort of, if you picture Ireland and Dublin's on the east, Naas would be sort of around the middle. I moved to Dublin about, oh gosh, I think about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, maybe a little longer. So I originally went for college, and then 2, 3 years in, I decided, okay, I'm gonna live here. And as soon as I moved up, and I was already traveling up and down between. I was actually in Laois at the time before I moved to Dublin. That's where my family is based now, another place in the middle of the country. I was up and down between Laois and Dublin all the time because there was nothing really that Laois had to offer me at a certain point in my life, and I was discovering myself. And it's kind of the classic, the country boy comes out and goes to the city, and the city has so much to offer. So when I eventually did move to Dublin, it was kind of a done deal. It was like, okay, this is home for me. So yeah, I've been in Dublin for quite a bit now. And I would say Dublin is my home for sure. Yeah.
What's the biggest joy of waking up in Dublin every single morning?
So particularly in my case, I live in the south area of Dublin, so quite south outside the city, around a place called Sandyford, and so Sandyford is quite near the Dublin Mountains, and it's not far from the sea. So admittedly, I have to. I've been neglecting it, but normally I really enjoy going for a walk up the Dublin Mountains because I can actually from my house, it's walking distance. So after around 45 minutes of walking, you're actually up in the hills and you start to see the entire city. So that's one of my favorite things about where I live at the moment. I think I'm very fortunate to be in my own house at the moment. Dublin is a rather expensive place. Not everyone has that privilege. So that's one thing I really love about here as well. Um, and yeah, I really would say it's just particularly the place in Dublin I'm in at the moment. I'm really drawn to the sea and the hills. I could see myself at some point in the future just, moving out with my partner into the countryside and becoming a hermit. I think it's funny, like when I was younger, I thought Dublin was everything. I thought I only ever want to live in the city. This is all I ever want in my life. And then over time, I've kind of gotten used to living in a city, and I think it's like a cliche almost. You live in one place for long, and then you look over at the place across, and you go, oh, that place is nicer. And right now, I think I like the comforts of the city, but I also yearn for just somewhere a little quieter, a little further out. But yeah, Dublin's home for now.
Amazing. And what do you do for work for living, Jamie?
So I'm a UX designer, and for anyone who doesn't know what a UX designer is, I try to explain this in sort of simple terms. Anytime you're using a website or an app, someone has put in the work to actually design how that experience is. So, when you go click around the pages, when you're going through when you're buying something online, there's a whole system, a whole set of flows that go into that. So that's what I've been doing the last few years. Um, I will say it's been a rickety market at the moment in terms of the future in my industry, and oh, that's another discussion. But yeah, I love doing design stuff. I'm a real product nerd, and yeah,
Um,
I get a lot out of it.
Amazing. Okay, so during the interview, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your life and also about your journey so far, okay? Are you
Absolutely.
ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and share your point of views?
Oh, I hope so.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I have here my best friend. Okay, full of random fun questions. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a song just for us to relax before the first question, okay?
Fantastic.
Let's do it. Yes, amazing. Okay, so before we start the interview, during the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to answer, always can change. Okay?
Perfect.
Amazing. Okay, what's the most meaningful gift have you ever received?
Ooh, starting with the heavy ones. Let me think about this one. Well, I mean, if I were to think, one of the most meaningful gifts that I had, at least when I was younger, was a tent. When I was a child, I got a little like a little toy tent, and I loved that tent. I spent so much time just hiding away from the world in that little tent, and that was everything to me at the time. Um, now that I think about it, I think one of the most meaningful gifts I ever got from anyone was when I was younger, I had my first relationship with someone, and we were together for 3 years, and very sadly he passed away suddenly, and it was quite a shock at the time. But before he passed away, I originally went to college to study to be a teacher, and I panicked kind of after the first year of that course, and I dropped out, and it was a real downer. My family was very disappointed that I dropped out, and I was seeing all my friends go through college, and couldn't really figure out what to do next. And I started a relationship with this guy, and the most meaningful thing most meaningful gift that I'd ever gotten was I couldn't get a student loan to go back to college. Because of various reasons, the bank wouldn't give me anything, and my parents weren't able to be a guarantor. So he stepped in as guarantor and helped me get that loan. And it was a rough 3 years paying off that loan. I definitely struggled. I was juggling college and job. But if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to go back to college to study design, and I wouldn't be where I am now. Yeah, I think it's a gift that's been giving even now all my life. I'm very grateful
Wow,
for it now that I think about it.
that's amazing. And which person in your family you feel more close to right now?
Oh, my little brother. Well, both my younger brothers, but one of my younger brothers in particular, I'm keeping an eye on. So I have three brothers. I have one older and two younger, and the
Wow,
two younger now are kind of one of them's just about hitting their teens, and the other is starting to enter adulthood. And yeah, I really love both my younger brothers. But the one that's just he's just turning 18, 19 now. Um,
wow.
yeah, I keep him close because he's got a whole world ahead of him, and yeah, I like to check in with him and check that he's okay and make sure that he's all sorted, and I'm very protective of him. So yeah, I would say my younger brother.
Oh, what's the biggest difference between both of you and the biggest similarity?
Oh, me and my brother.
Yeah?
Well, I'd say the biggest similarity is that we're both geeks. We're both like dorks. We like, gaming and online stuff and internet stuff and all that kind of thing. The biggest difference, I would say food. So he's a very picky eater. He won't eat a lot of things. He's very specific about what he likes to eat. I'm like the opposite. I used to be a picky eater when I was younger, but now I'd eat practically anything. Although weirdly, I don't like ketchup. That's like the only thing that I'm kind of like, "Ugh." I'll eat it if it's there, but like I'd really rather not. I find it's very like sharp. But I'll eat practically anything else. I'm actually a big fan of cooking, and one thing that I really enjoy cooking is Chinese Sichuan food, so like really chili oil and spices and all kinds of pickled things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Next question. Let's do it. Hey, Jen from Ireland. Right. Next question is describe yourself in 3 words.
Hmm. Hmm. Overthinker, kind, temperate. I suppose I have a temperate disposition. I'm kind of balanced.
And when you think about yourself, when you analyze yourself, what's the biggest joy of being Jamie? What do you like the most about being you?
I'm a very self-aware person, and I think that's kind of come with experience. So, I guess by being self-aware and being aware of kind of what's good about me and what's not good about me, I'm able to share the best parts of me with other people. I'm able to understand how other people feel. There's sort of an empathetic side to that, and because I guess I don't think of myself too highly or I kind of keep myself grounded. I see everyone else, on the same plane as me. So I try to approach everyone with a level playing field, if that makes any sense. So I don't look up to people in a sort of like unrealistic way because I've grown personally and I'm aware of my growth and I know that that's possible for anyone else and everyone's at a different stage of their journey.
Totally.
That's like my superpower if I have one.
Amazing. And as you mentioned about being overthinker, when you find yourself in that situation, when you are, analyzing too much, you are thinking too much, there is a mechanism that you use to kind of, slow down a little bit or disconnect a little bit from your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of taking a walk if things become too much. I think that going out into fresh air and touching grass, so to say, is a really grounding thing. I constantly remind myself that there are no real crises in the world. I mean, there are crises, but things that I worry about are nothing compared to, major things that are happening in the world. Actually, my boss once said to me, because I was talking about something in my job and design, and I was having very anxious about it. She turned around to me and said, we don't save lives. Like the things that you're worrying about here are really not meaningful on the grand scale of things. So I think that's how I combat overthinking, and I think it's like a muscle. It's like the more you become aware of it, the more you practice that kind of catching yourself and putting it back into place. It's not perfect, but I think I'm a lot more balanced than I used to be. I'd let thoughts just carry me away into the clouds, and I'd completely lose myself until I talk to someone and realize, oh, I'm completely off the mark here. So yeah, I think yeah, just checking in with yourself, I think is a big thing in terms of just realizing, oh, that's 99% of the time it's not as bad as you're making it out to be in your head.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think sometimes when you find yourself in that situation, the best thing for you to do is do something that's going to disconnect you somehow. As you said, go for a walk or, call someone or, put some music on or something that's going to distract you from that situation, which can be very drained because, you lose a lot of energy thinking, overthinking, analyzing, and can get you in a very tiring place.
Yeah, and it's actually a good point that you made, William, is talking is really important. And I know it's a very cliche thing, like, oh, talk to someone when you're not feeling good. But
Yeah.
but talking is just it's so powerful. Just catching up with someone that you care about or that you trust. Um, because in most cases that person's in a good place when you're not in a good place, and you can then vice versa. Then when they're in a bad place, you can help them down. I think that's really important.
Amazing. Next question. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Next one.
I'm not much of a dancer.
Right, before the next question, of course, when I was checking your profile, there was a phrase there saying, "Your friendly Irish kinkster." Yeah? So my question for you is, tell me when you realized that you have this connection with leather, this kink side there. Did something happen, or just through your journey, your life journey, you kind of got curious about it? So tell me a little bit about the journey so far.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this earlier, and I was trying to pinpoint, was there some exact moment where I had that aha? I think it was just something that I slowly started gravitating towards. It's like I didn't have a name for it. I just had some feeling around something that there. Um, probably growing up with TV shows and movies where anything like that was shown, so like superheroes or cowboys or these kind of caricatures or stereotypes of these hero figures. I think that was something I probably connected with when I was younger. Um, uh, when as soon as I started like being able to figure out how to use the internet and find these things, I think I'm very fortunate that I'm of a generation where the internet was just coming into its own. And yeah, every like young teenage guy, what's the first thing they do when they have like unsupervised access to a search engine is they start looking up words and seeing what happens. And yeah, I discovered bears. I probably was like searching hairy men or something. And so I think there was from bears, there's a lot of overlap with other things. So I'd like discovered a website called Bearbound, which was like mixing bears and getting tied up, and from there it was just like snowballed into like, oh wow, now I know what the words are. Now I can search these words and find these things. And yeah, I discovered Tom of Finland. So Tom of Finland is like a really famous artist who draws these like very hyper masculine leather guys. I think most people who are into leather, no matter who they are, can draw some connection to artists like Tom of Finland. That's a big thing. I think yeah, from there I think it just organically developed over time. And I will say I think what's always drawn me to leather or kink or anything like that. It's something different, It's something. It's an original sort of expression of humanity. We're very much ourselves even when we're in gear. Like I'm not a different. I don't put on a persona. There are some similarities to drag, but for me this is not drag. This is more like it's a way for me to become more confident, or a
Mhm.
way for me to have an outwardly more put together appearance where I can kind of break down my barriers and be more open. And I think that's the same. I think a lot of guys will probably tell you the same when if you ask them about that. There's something that I say, and I'm not sure if I heard it from somewhere, but until I do, I'm going to coin it as my phrase. Is that like we cover leather men, we cover ourselves up to open our hearts to other people, and I really believe that very strongly. And there's a very social aspect to it. So I think look, I'm not a leather guy 24/7. Like there are times when I'm just very much not I'm not fussed being in gear or all kinds of things. But sometimes it's just an excuse for me to socialize. And I think since I've discovered the social aspect of leather and kink as well, it's really become such a big part of my life.
I
Um,
see.
so yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Next question is, sorry, what a negative thing that happened to you that came out as a positive thing in the end?
Hmm. There's a few of those in my life. I think, losing my partner when I was younger was devastating, because I wasn't expecting it to happen in my life. And at the time, I would say I was a needy, sort of insecure guy. I think I really latched onto him for guidance. Um, and I think when I lost him, I just didn't know how to process that. I didn't know if there was going to be a way forward. I just couldn't see that path forward. Um, but from that, so many more doors opened up. I eventually, started seeing people again. I got into a relationship again. And I think being on my own like that, very in a very vulnerable position, having to kind of work through that, it really built my character, I would say, and has made me who I am today. Um, and there, I think that's like most things. Like I think there's kind of a theme behind anything that's hard that happens in life. Ends up making you stronger. So at the moment, like in my current job, I'm going through a redundancy period. I might be made redundant in a few weeks. Um, so if future Jamie is made redundant, I'm really sorry that happened to you. But that's I know that because I've gone through the struggle before. Part of me knows, one door closes, another door opens.
Totally.
It's all part of this journey that we call life.
And saying that, what's the meaning of life for you?
Meaning of life for me is trying to discover the extraordinary in the ordinary more and more. Um, Becoming reflective and self-aware so that you can see things beyond the surface level. Um,
Mhm.
Making meaningful connections with people, and I don't just mean like parties and fun, but actually like really learning from other people, learning from people who don't look like you, opening yourself up to people who have different life experiences, different pasts. I think I'm now in my early 30s, and only now I'm starting to figure out, like, I'm starting to get life. I'm starting to understand what really it means. I think ultimately it's about finding a higher purpose, and trying to achieve that higher purpose. Um, and I'm on the way to finding that. I think my higher purpose is potentially in like offering experiences to others, or sharing experiences with others in a way that helps them to grow. And maybe that goes into like my past when I was studying to be a teacher. I didn't end up going down that path, but more for job reasons than anything. I still love to teach. I love to share knowledge. Um, and yeah, I think a lot of people, when they start to get older, like they start to figure out there's a recurring theme here. There's something that I really like to do that's meaningful to the world and can contribute to the world, and not just financially, right? Something more spiritual, if that's the word you have for it, or human. Um,
Totally.
yeah.
Amazing. 3 questions left. Let's do it. Right, before the next question, two questions, one question, 2 parts. So the first part of the question is, when you sign up, when you start again the competition for the second time to become Mr. Mr. Dublin Ladder, um, did you think that you could win? And the second part of the question is, tell me the feeling when they said the winner is Jamie. So tell me about the emotions that happened to you at the time.
And so the first time I entered, I definitely thought, part of me thought that I could win. I think if I knew I couldn't win, then well, not that I wouldn't enter, but like I think part of entering a competition like this is there's some part of you, or there's something that says, I've got something to give here. I've got something to share. I can be this person. Um, I will say the first time I did it, I wasn't so sure.
Hmm.
Because I was among some very amazing people, and some people who really I actually looked up to. Um, and I don't think I fully nailed like my self-confidence. I think I did a good job at like putting myself out there, and it really was a very big moment of growth. Um, but I wasn't surprised when I didn't win in a way, and also because the guy who won last year, his name is Fionn. When I heard him talk and the way he carried himself, I kind of thought, yeah, I really see it for him. Um, and it's funny that when I went for it this time around, um, I think I really felt I had a chance. I think I kind of put together a version of myself that if I saw myself on the stage, and I kind of saw myself, I'd say that's someone I could look up to. And that was the whole goal for me. It's like, by doing all this stuff, by being out there in the community, by being public, it's really about, I wanted someone that I could look up to when I was younger. And so that's always what I'm aspiring to be. I'm aspiring to be the person that I would look up to when I was younger. And I think, yeah, I think I could see myself winning it. But again, when I saw the people I was competing with, there was a lot of doubt. And I think at one point I kind of thought, well, if I don't win, that's okay. Like that's the universe telling me that this isn't right for me, and I'm happy to kind of call it then. I'm not a sore loser when it comes to stuff like this, but oh my God, when they called my name, I really was shocked. It was disorientating almost. It was like hard to process. And then shortly after I'd won and I'd hugged my fellow competitors and taken the initial photos and got the sash. Oh, there was just suddenly a queue of people coming up onto the stage, all like shake my hand or give me a hug or congratulate me, and that was a really strange moment because part of me still doesn't like, I still don't see myself as like up there. I mean, I have a sash, and only a few people have a sash at any given time. It's kind of seen as like an ambassador role, but it was totally surreal. I'm kind of more used to it now, and kind of more in comfortable with it now. But yeah, I think it was just the initial wave of people, not just offline. Like they messaged me online. I got so many messages when I initially won, and I spent one evening replying to them all, and I was so tired afterwards. I was like, I hope this isn't going to be the rest of the year. But thankfully, it's calmed down now. People are like they're like, okay, we thank you. You go do it now. So yeah, I still catch myself, because I think I feel a sense of responsibility because
Mhm.
people often ask me like, what's the point of titles? What's the point of title holders? Is it just like a pageant thing? And part of it definitely is a pageant thing. I can't say that it isn't. But I think what's really important to me and to a lot of other title holders is um, we try to put out the best version of what our community represents. We have the confidence, and we've been entrusted with the going out there in public settings, sometimes not in kinky settings, to kind of show, hey, like, look, we might be wearing these crazy clothes and doing all these crazy things, but we're still people at the end of the day. You can come up to us and say hello, and that's all we ask for, and I try to always like project that image when I'm out in public and show that I'm approachable. Try to show people, it's important to be kind to people who don't look like you. Just come up and say hi. And yeah, sometimes I catch myself and think, wow, like what's that thing doing there? Like it's like, oh, but no, I'm kind of like I'm cool with it now.
Amazing. Okay, next question is, if you could stay any age for the rest of your life, what age would that be and why?
Well, that's a tricky one because I don't know what it feels like to be 40, 50, 60. And there may very well be a time when I hit that age and I think, yep, that's the perfect age. Um, I will say that, I'm 32 now, and I feel actually better than I felt, I think, any other time in my life. Now, not everything's perfect. So if I drink a lot, the hangovers are getting much worse, and the knees are starting to feel like they're not gonna they're not gonna have a long shelf life later on. But I would say right now, my early 30s, if I could freeze this moment in time, I think this is the most put together I felt. I read a quote somewhere, and I wished I could remember the name of the person. I think it was some Austrian or Danish poet um, that said when you hit 30, you get the ability to remember. And what I interpret that as is, I think when you're past your 20s and you've done all the wild 20 stuff where you try everything and you eat all the candy on the candy shelf, you have a moment where it's like, okay, I've kind of done all that. I've gotten it out of my system. Now I get to choose what I'm actually interested in. I get to settle
Uh-huh.
down in other ways, and I think I've really appreciated that. I think I've really enjoyed being in my 30s because sometimes I miss the partying and sometimes I miss the kind of the more chaotic side of things because I remember it in a certain way now, kind of more fondly. I don't miss not having money ever. I'd say I really like having money now. But I would say, yeah, at this moment in time, if I could press the pause button and live out this, I've got enough of a toolkit that I can enjoy life for a very long time to come without anything kind of um, falling apart physically.
Right, two questions left. Let's do it. Okay, next question is, what's the worst first date have you ever been on?
Ooh. It's like you're burying, it's like digging out all the traumatic memories. Um, hmm. Oh, I've had a few pretty rough first dates. I can't say I've had one that's been truly disaster. I've sometimes when I was younger, I would I would be too, I guess, open with people or too kind of a yes person. And I'd meet someone and I realized very quickly that we weren't really connecting, but I'd still kind of play along with it because I was too afraid to say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. And then that would usually end up with me going over to their place and going, oh, I wish I wasn't here. Um, I can't,
Oops.
I can't think of one particularly bad one. I think it probably was so bad that I've successfully like expunged it from my memory forever.
Right.
Um, I have had a few, like when I was younger, I once or twice, I would talk to someone online for a while and kind of I'd think, oh, this person is great. And I'd agree to, and they were in another country. They were like in the UK or in Italy. And I'd agree to go for a weekend to see them and stay over at their place. And yeah, I think one or two of those ended up just so bad because it was like, oh, not only do I not like this person, I've agreed to stay for the weekend and I haven't made any alternative plans and my flight is already booked. And it's like, oh, do I leave or do I stay here? And I would always stay there. And ooh, yeah, some really rough weekends. Um, but yeah, no, thankfully, I haven't had any spectacularly bad first dates. I have to say, if I
And
have,
how
I've forgotten.
and how do you see the dating life in Dublin? Do you think that it's easy to go on a date? Do you think, nowadays with the apps, yeah, people they tend to
No,
kind of meet uh, off from the apps, or is still the dating life? It's quite regular.
so I think I come at this from a unique kind of perspective, because usually when I've been looking for dates in the past, um, I have a special interest angle with the leather and the kink and stuff. So I would kind of, I wouldn't say it would be non-negotiable, but I typically look for that specifically or find a shared interest there. And I've had a lot of like hit and miss with the apps in general. And I found at times, people have really disappointed me with their flakiness. I think one thing that apps unfortunately enable um, is a lot of very surface level, sort of discriminatory kind of behaviors. So you get people on Grindr or on any of the other apps with like a shopping list of what their perfect partner or mate, or they'll just do this thing where they block you instantly after one message, or they just demand you send them naughty pictures, and then if you don't do that, they just like they ghost you. Oh, the ghosting as well. Like, oh, I've had actually, if we're going to talk about bad first dates, it's the first dates that didn't happen. I've been ghosted like spectacularly at times. Like I've gone out of my way. I've gone taken a train to another town in Ireland, and they didn't turn up and I've had to
Oh,
like figure out a way to get back. Um, there's the apps enable a lot of that because it's very easy to disappear. It's very easy to not take responsibility for your behavior. And so I have a bit of a problem with apps in general. Uh, I think I've learned over time that it's such a rewarding experience if you can meet someone organically in person. Um,
absolutely.
I think this is a bigger problem with like spaces in general. And I'm not just talking about now the leather stuff. I just mean in general.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing a lot of gay and queer spaces closing down and disappearing, particularly in the cities. Um, and I think this is really sad because what some people might argue, oh well, now that we're accepted, like there's no need for these spaces. I would disagree with that. I would say that a lot of that acceptance has a limit, and nowadays we're seeing that privilege can be taken away if there's just a bad person leading that charge. Um, and I think those spaces are necessary. It's nice to be in a space where you're kind of you've got a shared commonality with other people there. You don't have to be like, interested in everyone there, but at least it's a space where it's safe to approach people and strike up conversations or connect. I'm really sad that those spaces are disappearing. I think they're really important. Um, I think
Uh,
the apps miss out on a lot of that detail. It's like it creates there's a lot of inequality on apps. There's a lot of like you don't get to discover a person. You're very much fixed for the most part. You're very much fixed in an echo chamber of you find people that look like you or that are interested in only the things that you're interested in. And there's a lot of that in the world with social media as well as an extension of the apps, and that makes me sad. I really want us to get back to a point where we get to meet strangers in bars and go off on spontaneous dates or adventures. I found some people that have become very good friends just by chance, like bumping into them. So yeah, I think yeah, the apps had a place and they still have a place. I mean, there is a lot of safety for a lot of people in the apps, but I think they enable a lot of bad behaviors, and I really wish there were more spaces to kind of counteract that.
Totally. I agree with you totally. I think those places still very enjoyable to go and meet new people face to face. I think it's precious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last question, ready?
Yeah.
With last question. Okay, so before the last question, when you pass along your sash, what's something about it that your legacy that you want to leave for this year that since you became Mr. Dublin Leather 2025?
So I would say I want that sash to represent a few things. And I think the last person who wore the sash, Fionn, would probably echo what I'm about to say. Um, I want our sash to represent what I think the ideal is of the Irish leather community, and that's openness, kindness, and acceptance, and a bit of fun. And so, if I were to break those down, I would say I think it's important that when someone wears that sash, they show people that they're approachable, and they show people that no matter who you are, you can connect with me, and we can be friends. Um, I think I wanted to represent a kind of a kindness, and again, I think I touched on this when we chatted already, but just the idea that you're kind to everyone, not just gay men, not just people who look like you, not just people who are the same skin color or have the same look or the same interests, people from all different backgrounds. And I really believe in being an ambassador of that, being an ambassador of bringing people together. Because underneath it all, we all have a commonality, we all have a shared cause. And I do believe that everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something that's interesting to learn. And I want to, and of course, like people take the title holder stuff very seriously at times. People see it as like a lot of drama, or it's kind of like an us versus them, like the kind of the upper class versus the plebs. But really, I think it's just about having fun, and I believe in like title holders should be enablers of fun. They should be the person who can go into a room and just bring it alive. Talk to everyone in the room, get people talking together. And I really hope for the next person who gets to wear it, that they get to bring that too, and bring something of their own as well. Because I brought something of my own that's different from Fionn, and it'll kind of carry on like that. But I think they're the core things that are really important.
Amazing. Last question is, what makes you most proud?
Oh, I'm really proud of myself, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Um, I'm really proud of finding a direction in my life, finding things that I really care about. So the work that I do, that's something that's kind of taken a long time to and a few detours to get to. The kind of person I am, I'm really proud of myself for kind of really becoming a grounded, inner confident, kind person. I'm really proud of like having kind of a core set of beliefs and a core happiness that can't be easily shaken by other people. Um, and just to be in, to be in a good place in my life where I'm living in a nice house. I've got a lovely partner. I've got an amazing set of friends, people I really care about, and knowing that I don't need to open the door to everyone who comes knocking. I think that's a lesson you learn in life as well. It is okay and it's healthy to not be everything for everyone. Um, it's perfectly fine to not be everyone's cup of tea. But I'd like to think that who I am now is someone that most people can get along with and most people can be friends with. And yeah, I am proud of who I am today. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Be thinking. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start with money.
Necessary.
Fear.
Can be overcome.
Life.
Are damaging.
Love.
Is everything.
Sex.
Oversold.
Religion.
There's something there.
Friendship.
Important. Revitalizing.
Politics.
Traumatic, but necessary.
Desire.
Fire.
Like that. Regret.
Regrets heal over time.
Amazing. Success.
Important when it's your own.
Wish.
Never let go of your wishes.
Happiness.
You can make your own happiness.
One word for Dublin.
Expensive.
One word for Ireland.
Go west. Two words, but west.
Okay. One word for the leather community.
Community. What can I say?
Amazing. And the last one now, Mr. Dublin Leather 2025. One word.
Kindness.
Beautiful. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your partner for a coffee, and I'm going to ask him, define Jamie in one positive and one negative word only, what he would say.
Controversial. Positive would be thoughtful, I think. Negative would be procrastinates.
What's your star sign astrology, Jane?
So I'm a Libra, but I'm very, very close to a Scorpio, and some people tell me that makes perfect sense.
Oh.
What about you?
I'm Scorpio.
Oh, you're a Scorpio.
I'm
So you're
Scorpio.
like September,
No, I'm November.
November. Oh yeah, the other way around. Yes, yes.
Amazing. Let's play now Jamie and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Right, before you asking the question, people watch this interview right now. Maybe they would like to sign up, for a competition to become Mr. Leather or any other title involved in the LGBTQ plus community. What would be your best piece of advice?
So I would say, first of all, anyone can be a mister. Anyone can be a title holder of any kind. You don't have to be a stereotypical guy. You don't have to be like famous. You don't have to be an influencer. But what I would say is try to have something like that's in your core or in your heart that tells people who you are, and build on that and share that. Um, I would say try to get to know people in the community, befriend people in the community because you're doing it for each other. Like I'm not. If this sash is just a strip of leather that means nothing by itself, but it means everything to a certain community and a certain group of people. So get to know those people and just bring your best self. Learn from each other, and don't be just do it. I would say just do it. Don't make the excuses not to do it, because I've made every one of those excuses and I'm here now. And if at
Mhm.
first you don't succeed, try again.
Amazing. Okay, can ask me a question now, Jane?
Oh, I've been looking forward to this. So, you interview so many people. You've probably interviewed thousands of people at this point. I don't know how many people, but a lot. Um, but we don't get to hear a lot about you. So, um, if there was something about William, about you, that you wanted the rest of the world to know, what is one thing that makes you special and makes you you?
Wow, what a great question. What a great question, Jamie. Wow, you put me right in the spot right now. I was expecting that. Okay, so something that I'd like, people to know about me, something that something that they um okay, you know what? The first thing that can come to my mind right now is I'm a kind of person that I love when I, prove myself wrong. We have our point of views, and I love when I get myself to a situation where I change my point of view. I learn something different. So what I would like people to think about me or to know about me is I love to learn. I love to be, in a place where I always say when I learn something new, trust me, I feel the happiest because something we're gonna die without knowing so many things, you know what I mean? So I think something about me is I love learning, but could be anything. For example, talking to people here for me it's like a master class because I'm learning every day. Talking to you now, I've learned things that you cannot even imagine. So, about learning, I love that. It's something that I've always been fascinated about since a young age. Always been very curious. I think it fits me well in doing the show because I'm very curious about things. So yeah, something about me. It's I'm up for learning every single day. It could be anything. It could be the most simple thing, but for me it means a lot because it's something that, I just learn something new. It makes me great every day when I learn something new. So yeah, so there's something about me.
I love that. I really do. I think that's a quality that's really admirable in a person.
Thank you.
I think if all of us could have that quality, the world would be a better place. Being able to develop yourself and grow yourself and not hold on to things too strongly. I think there's a certain humility in that, that's really special.
Amazing. Do you enjoy the interview, Jane?
I loved it. Yeah, I learned a bit about myself, some memories that I'd almost forgotten about.
Amazing. Thanks again. Thanks for taking the time for the interview. I know nowadays we are so busy with our own lives, and when someone take their time for us, I think it's a gift. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate for you to be able to be here and also, share your journey. And I love the story behind that you tried once, you came to second place, and you tried again, and here you are. So I think that's a big message here as well. That's keep trying. You know what I mean? Keep trying, keep going. That's sometimes can be just around the corner, and you just need to give a little bit more about you, or a little step, or a bit more of hard work, and trust me, you're getting there. So thanks again for sharing this memorable story. Before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Yeah, so I actually had a quote prepared, and it's funny we talked about happiness. There's a quote that I really like that is, "Happiness, in fact, is a condition that must be prepared for, cultivated, and defended privately by each person." And
Wow.
that's quite an old quote now. It's a few decades old. I think it's a really important message because a lot of people expect happiness, like talent, to be something that you just have inside of you. But the reality is, happiness is something that you have to work on. And especially nowadays, happiness is something you have to defend and you have to have deeply in your core. And no matter what life throws your way, no matter how the world goes, and who knows where the world is going these days, you need to find happiness in something. And it can be in the smallest of things. And the more you can kind of cultivate that happiness and keep it inside you like a little fire, um, I think the better prepared you are for life, the better prepared you are for things in general. It gives you kind of a strength. And
Totally.
I would say it's important for anyone out there who's struggling. You can find happiness. It is there, but you have to search and build it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Regards to your partner, your family and friends, and you keep in touch. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Okay, have a good night. Take care.
Thank you. Good
Bye
night. Bye.
bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.